not mistaken, we have our guest on the line, so I want to welcome, without further ado, former WCW Nitro Girl Spice to the air. How are you doing?
Hi, guys. It's great to be here. Thanks for having me.
It's a pleasure to have you on the broadcast, and we've got some great questions for you, so if you don't mind, let's go ahead and get started.
Okay, sounds great.
Now, growing up, were you a professional wrestling fan? If so, who were some of your favorites?
Who are some of my favorite wrestlers? Is that what you're asking?
Yeah.
Okay, I'm sorry, guys. There's a little bit of echo on the line. Growing up, I was a child of the 80s, so I grew up watching Hulk Hogan on Saturday mornings and the Iron Sheik and some of the iconic people that are, some of them are still around today. And I think what was so cool was on my very first show, I went into, we all have the cafeteria, if you will, where they're serving the food, and I literally was in line next to Hulk Hogan, and it was just one of those moments in your life that I'm just like, wait a minute, I used to sit on my couch as a child and watch you, and now I'm eating next to you. This is crazy. So I'm kind of a traditionalist, I guess, and then the crazy thing is that wrestling found me versus me really having been an active fan and following it and pursuing it. I had been good friends with Kimberly Page, and I had done some work with her when she was a fitness competitor, and she knew me as a choreographer and as a dancer. And so when I started in wrestling, I didn't really know a lot about what was going on. I didn't know any of it. And so I'm always a fast learn, and got in there, and I really grew to have a deep respect and appreciation for what really happens and what those guys do and what they put into it every day. And then, of course, 3.5 years down the line, when I had to go to wrestling school myself and learn it firsthand, that was a fun experience as well. So, but then kind of once I left wrestling, and I still followed it pretty closely for probably the next 2 years after I left, but honestly now, can you believe we're coming up on the 10-year reunion since the last WCW episode? Is that crazy?
Yeah, it's been a while. I didn't even realize that was that close.
It is going to be 10 years in March, and so I just really I have not watched wrestling hardly at all. I still see some of my favorite faces out there. So just some of the people that I was in WCW with, I follow, and I just make sure they're all doing good. And but I'm not. I wish I could say that I'm actively watching every week, but I'm a bad fan. I'm not. It's like you've been there, you lived it, you've done it, and then life continues on, But I still stay in touch with Facebook and things like that with some of the people from WCW days.
Now, talk a little bit about your dance training prior to becoming a Nitro Girl.
Well, I started dancing actually when I was 2 years old. And my first on-stage performance, I was a little reindeer. But I started in ballet, and I was pretty classically trained for a long time, studied ballet throughout the majority of my career. And then when I got to high school, and then, of course, junior high with cheerleading, then I got into more kind of mainstream forms of dance with just, a little bit of, they didn't really fully call it funk back then. But in college, I really became what I would say more of a professional dancer, and I actively studied all forms from modern and jazz and hip-hop and funk, and then started going out and gigging, as they call it, and doing auditions and everywhere from music videos and industry shows and kind of you name it. I did it over the years, and then when I was in chiropractic school, I live in Atlanta, and I still reside here, and we, of course, hosted the 1996 Olympics. And so I was still in school, and I was with a dance team, and I was the choreographer, and we got to audition for the Olympics, and we used one of my choreography pieces, and we got in, and we were kind of in that front row of performers, and I got to dance right in front of, at the time then, President Clinton. And so that was a pretty cool experience. So, started in ballet, but have literally done it all over the years. So.
Now, you were one of the original Nitro Girls. How did the process go, to, obviously for the scouting of being a Nitro Girl?
Yeah, it was interesting because it was, they were hoping to find Atlanta-based talent at first, since, of course, WCW was based out of here. And the difference with the girls, with the Nitro Girl concept versus the wrestlers, is that we had to obviously learn choreography and rehearse and be together on a regular basis, whereas the guys could live anywhere. You fly in for a show, you fly back out, or you get in the car and you drive to the next town. And so they scouted pretty heavily throughout Atlanta, and Kimberly, she had reached out to me a couple of times. I, being a choreographer, I knew choreographers in the Atlanta scene, and there were some rumblings that something was going on, and it kind of rumbled for a couple of months, and Kim had told me for a couple of months that she was really working on something, and it was all hush, hush, hush. And then it was literally like the trigger got pulled. Eric said yes, and when Eric Bischoff said yes, you had to jump on it because he'd say no the next week. So you kind of go while the getting's good and got the green light. And I'll never forget it because she had been in contact with me just going, you know, I'll let you know, I'll let you know, I'll let you know. And I really want you to be a part of this project. And I had introduced her some other dancers to some dance groups and troupes and other schools, and so she was just going out and going to dance classes, looking at dancers, talking to some of the top instructors in Atlanta, you know, talking with the Falcons, talking with the Hawks dancers, and she just really looked because they weren't necessarily, they wanted good dancers, but that was not what was required from everybody because, of course, it's wrestling. And what they understood, and that was at the time also when the Spice Girls were really, really popular. And, you know, what was hot from a pop culture or marketable standpoint was they wanted real life, you know, characters, just like the wrestlers, the girls, we all had to have our niche. We had to be larger than life in our own way. And it wasn't necessarily about being able to dance. So she wanted a nice mix of girls that really were great dancers and the girls that were fitness girls, and she wanted cheerleaders. And so she wanted kind of a cross-pollination of styles so that everybody could have an opportunity to highlight their different strengths. And of course, in the beginning days, it was not known what would ultimately happen. You know, would we all be broken out and become valets or wrestlers or what? And even though they were pretty clear at that time that Turner really wanted, you know, it was family-based programming. We wanted to be different than our competition. And they really wanted to try to shift the role of how females had been viewed in wrestling for so long. And they felt that at that point, at that juncture when the Nitro Girls began, they felt that the role of a female valet was kind of running its course. And of course, now we know it really hasn't. Obviously, it's cycled back through. But at that time, they wanted to shift it. So Kim needed to make sure she could find a group that could dance, could keep a beat, had skills, had a great look that could stand on their own in case they were taken out of the group and used in another medium or another fashion. And so, yeah, I had been on vacation for a weekend. I came back home, and I had all these messages on my answering machine from a variety of different choreographers, from Kim, everybody going, there's going to be auditions on such and such date. And I was like, oh, great, I got back and I missed it. Because that's also before, it's so crazy to think that 13 years ago, you know, we didn't have cell phones attached to our hips and in our fingertips and everywhere, but you just didn't have your cell phone like glued to your side. So I didn't have a cell phone with me when I was on vacation. And so I called Kim, and she's like, oh my God, I couldn't get in touch with you. I really need you part of this project. It's a go, and, you know, I need you to come in, and the only caveat is, will you dye your hair? I was like, yeah, because I have jet black. I traditionally, at that point, had very, very dark, you know, as a dark brunette. And I was like, sure, it's just hair. She's like, okay, great, it's a go. And so the rest is history.
Okay, now you touched on a little bit on this, but what are your personal thoughts on Eric Bischoff? Boy, that laugh could mean so many things. Sorry, Eric. You know, what I'll say is I respect him from a professional standpoint of what he did during the time with what he had to do. He really wasn't the nicest guy to work for. You know, as any business, there is a lot of politics. And at that time, there was heavy politics. And I was so young, A, to the business, but just even B in general, that, you know, we were all green, and we just, it was an interesting learning curve, you know, so you just keep your nose to the ground, you do what you're supposed to do, and on you go back, and you do your rehearsals, and he was an interesting individual, you know, but again, larger than life characters, and sometimes what you see on television extends behind the cameras off stage as well. Now, we've heard a lot of... Oh, go ahead.
I was going to say sometimes people don't know where their acting ends and begins. So anyways, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you. Go ahead.
No problem. Now, we've heard a lot of horror stories about the WCW locker room from the wrestlers. What was the locker room like for you?
Honest to God, people hate hearing how la everything was, but the girls, we literally were a family. We were just the best of friends. We still are to this day, all of us. We had a great locker room. I think that the dynamic started to shift a little bit right at the end of 99, early 2000. We had done the big Nitro Girl search. Of course, Stacy Killer had come on, which was a wonderful asset to the group. We all loved her, and that was a lot of fun. But then we started seeing a resurgence of female ballet. So that's when you had, like, Medeja come in. And, oh, my gosh, I remember at one point, I mean, there used to be, like, 7 or 8 of us in the locker room. It was Miss Elizabeth, and it was the Nitro Girls pretty much, and Jacqueline was in there. And then we got to a point where literally at one point I think we had at least 25 girls backstage, and we were all, I mean, the Nitro Girls, we were kind of we'd been there forever, and of course Miss Liz, and so we were always gracious to everybody. There was no internal, like, cat fights and people doing nasty things to each other, but sometimes some of the newer girls, they were very, people are there in the wrestling business to try to get seen, to get noticed, and make their way, and they want to try to, quickly move forward. And the girls, we were all just a family. And you could tell the girls that came in wanting with a different agenda, and they were there not very long term. They came and they left. So.
Now, who approached you about doing the non-nude Nitro Girl spread in Penthouse magazine?
Well, Penthouse came to us, and they were specific about who they wanted in it. They specifically asked for I guess it was Kim, Terry, or Fire rather, Che, and myself. So they asked us.
Okay. Now, what were the circumstances around Kimberly leaving the group around 1999?
It was just for her, so many things were happening with Paige's shift in his career, and he was like, and he had been a top guy for a while, but she was being given an opportunity to grow, and we knew things were shifting in the industry, that there was a lot of going back and forth between what was happening with the ratings with WCW and WWE, and things, we were all getting pushed to really push the envelope and do things much differently than had been. And so the writing was kind of on the wall that there was going to be a short window, and that the Nitro Girls might not stay a permanent fixture when Vince Russo and those guys came in. And she, of course, was kind of in that inner management, and she knew, and she was given an opportunity to extend herself and her character, and she took it. And I definitely don't blame her. I mean, it worked for some of the people, and it extended their careers out a little bit longer. And, but that was within about, I guess, 9 months, I think, or so, to when it all kind of started to close shop.
Now, you were actually a part of the Ready to Rumble. What was the set like for you, and what are some of your memories of that time?
It was a fun time, a great experience. I'm trying to think, because I was like, it's like any movie set. Like, we're all on movie sets every day. I don't know if that was a weird answer that I was going to give. That's why I kind of paused. But we all had our own trailers, and, there's a lot of, like any kind of television or entertainment, with the exception of live, it's a lot of hurry up and wait. So, we'd be sitting around on set, and they'd need us, and then they wouldn't. And then you go back to your trailer, and you'd sit for a while. But we made friends with everybody in the crew, and it was just a great experience. It was a lot of fun. It was so neat just to be a part of it and just really see firsthand that extent of what happens in film and production, and we were out there during an earthquake, so that was kind of cool, and a little scary at the same time. It was like, I think our second or third night that we were there, we had an earthquake, and it's really neat that I'll look at the movie now and go, oh yeah, that was a 3 a.m. shoot, or that was this. Like, I still remember exactly what was going on when we shot it, where it was, what the weather conditions were like, and so it's just kind of a neat little moment, a little time stamp to always look back on and go, oh yeah, hey, that was me, I did that, cool.
Okay. Now, Kimberly's departure presented quite an opportunity for members of the group, including yourself. You were arguably the most successful Nitro Girl in WCW after that, starting a storyline featuring the power struggle in the group. Can you talk a little bit about working that angle?
Gosh. Wow. It was really neat working with Medusa. Again, to have such kind of an iconic figure as far as a female wrestler goes. And, it all happened so fast. Like, you literally would go in and they'd say, okay, today you're leaving the group and this is happening and this is what's going on. And I learned how to wrestle on the fly. I was learning things, and it was kind of almost like I had already had a few in-ring experiences. And then I got sent to wrestling school because it was just so real time of the shifts that were happening. And it was just, television. It was the war between the two, WCW, WWE, the ratings war, so to speak. And again, if we were going to survive or if we were not. And so they were just really trying a lot of things. When I look back, I'm always very critical of my own performances, and I'm like, man, if I would have really, known a little bit more or had a little bit more time in wrestling school, I think I really could have done a lot of cool things, but it all happens the way it's supposed to. And it was just a fun experience to take it from dancing to go outside of the ring, to get inside of the ring, to be the valet. I think one of my favorite pictures, there's a picture out there online, I might even have it in one of my Facebook WCW things, but it was a picture with me and Tori Wilson, and my hair, I had the short red hair, and I was throwing, I can't even remember his name, he was one of our writers, Ed, wasn't it Ed Shorter?
Yeah, Ed Ferreira.
Thank you, Ed Ferreira. There we go. And I was throwing him back in the ring. It was just this awesome little picture and just this moment of intensity, and it was just one of those good gets, and to me that kind of really captures what that experience was like. It was fun. It was great to be able to get a little aggressive and to, just share different sides of my personality and on-camera personality. So it was good. It was a great experience.
Now, in speaking with you, you seem like a very nice person. It seems like you are anything but a heel in life. How did you feel about playing a heel in the storyline?
You ask any babyface, and they will tell you that they love getting to be a heel. It's so much fun getting to play the bad guy. It really is, because especially when you really are good, so it's just fun to get to be other than yourself for, a few minutes here and there. And I think it's a lot easier to be the bad guy. I mean, because it's so easy to get the crowd behind you, because you love to love the good guy, but you even love to hate the bad guy more. So yeah, I mean, I'm a pretty, I'd like to say I'm a pretty good person, and my whole path and journey is about inspiring people to their personal best. So I would hope I'm being that, but it was fun to get to be the bad guy, and every now and then I've got a 3.5, actually almost 4-year-old little boy, and we wrestle and we play superheroes, and I get to be he'll be like, Mommy, you're the bad guy. So I still get to put on my, my heel face every now and then.
Nice. Now, whose idea was that storyline, and were you against it, or were you all for it originally?
I didn't get a say. It just was what it was. And luckily I enjoyed the people that I worked with, and again, it was a fun new experience for me. So I'm always open to things. I'm really not the person that's going to be like, no, screw you. I will be very open. If it doesn't work, of course I'll speak up for myself. But again, we did not have a say. The lines get written, the storylines get written, you get called, and if I would have said no, then it's like, okay, peace out, you're out of a job. So it's kind of just how the cookie crumbles. You kind of do what you're told, like most jobs when you are an employee of a company. So.
Okay, very understandable. Now, the storyline started with AC Jazz, but she soon left afterwards. What were her reasons for leaving, do you know?
It was just personal choice. She just decided it was time to move on, and she made that decision very quickly and very suddenly, and we all had a talk with her one night. She was, she was just in a place where she just felt it was time for her to leave, and the next morning she was gone. And it had been a long time since any of us had seen her or heard from her, and I was amazed. I ran into her probably about, I guess it was in November, at a local grocery store. Like, it was so crazy. We're in the Kroger, and I'm going in to, I don't know, get something. I'm going down the aisle and I see, she goes whizzing by me and I go, Amy? I'm like, AC? And she stops and she looks, she's like, oh my God, Melissa. So it was just so weird. I literally hadn't seen her in like 9 years since she left. None of us had seen her. We couldn't find her. She just kind of made, like I said, a personal choice. And her mother had some health issues and things, and she wanted to just be with her family, and she did what was right for her. And now she's happily married and has a little one. And when I talked to her, they were thinking that there was going to be another one on the way soon. So she's a happy mommy. She still looks beautiful as ever and is doing great, and has left the land of wrestling.
Okay. Now, my next question for you is, the feud continued by Tigress taking the part as the main rival. On November 22nd, 1999, you wrestled Tigress, and afterwards she and Sky, who fans know as Stacy Killer, painted your face. What are some of your memories of that?
Oh, God. That was so silly. Just ridiculous. Oh, God. I don't know. I remember so many things by the pictures and the playbacks, I guess, because it was, again, one of those, like, we got to go in and practice at wrestling school and learn some moves, and you get out there and they kind of threw the Stacy thing in last minute, and I don't know. I guess honestly, if I'm going to be really honest with you guys, and I will be, because I'm sure everybody knows, things are scripted out, but my biggest memory is trying to really be knocked out, trying to really not, and if you look back at the playback, and this is what sticks out in my brain and it kills me, you can see where I smiled the slightest bit because, like, Stacy was just tee-heeing in my face, and so was Vanessa, and I was like, I'm going to kick your ass, you guys. So, yeah, knowing that you're on national television with the camera straight up in your face, and you're being, they're putting just, and you're just going, please God, don't let me blow the spot. Please don't let me blow the spot. So that's me being 100% truthful. I'm sorry if I'm giving any of the behind-the-scenes things away, but that's what sticks out in my brain.
No problem at all. Now, my co-host Andrew Carlick has some questions for you. So, Andrew, go ahead, man.
Yeah, you were talking earlier, Melissa, about this time when you were working with Medusa. But before that, you were briefly managing Evan Courageous.
Yes.
And you actually turned on him, helping Medusa to defeat him at Starrcade of that year. Now, were you actually in favor of being so involved in these storylines once that happened, or did you kind of prefer doing the Nitro Girl thing?
I guess I've been, obviously, as you know from the earlier part of the interview, I've been dancing my whole life, and it's still just a huge part of who I am. So more than anything, I absolutely love dancing. I had also been doing the pay-per-view co-hosting with Chad Damiani, Deli Boy at that time, and Chad and I were supposed to be taking over the Saturday morning show. Every morning there was a Saturday morning wrestling show, and the name of it is escaping me right now. But we were supposed to take the hosting of that over. They wanted to go in a very young, hip, fun, funky kind of direction with it. And so I really wanted, and what I had been working on for so long and what I had been, I loosely promised was more of a hosting position because that's what I really love. And it's not that I was against the wrestling because it was fun. I really enjoyed getting to learn about it and getting to experience that side of the gig for sure. But I think if I had to choose, going, okay, you can dance, you can be on the storylines, you can host. If it's a matter of stepping up, I knew the shifts that were happening with the Nitro Girls, so I really wanted to do hosting. But again, I'm happy with all of it. I wasn't unhappy with any of it. If that gives you the answer you're looking for, it was all good. I wasn't against it. It was a fun experience, and it gave me more stories to tell, more things to talk about in the interviews, right?
Exactly. The show you're thinking of, I believe, is WCW Pro. Now, also at this time, the kind of what I was considered to be sort of your trademark, the huge smile was, not so much on your face because you were playing the heel. Was that something that you kind of learned when you were a child dancing, or was that just something you kind of did with started doing with the Nitro Girls?
No, this is who I am,
Okay.
Andrew. I mean, I've danced my whole life. I just, I guess I'm a very expressive dancer. I'm an expressive person. I'm Italian. I'm always talking with my hands. I'm just expressive. I've just always, it's just who I am. Yeah.
Yeah, something that me as a an 18-year-old kid watching that was it was one of the things that I was able to notice there. Now, in 2000, you actually left WCW. What were the circumstances there?
Well, the circumstances were, that again, I was supposed to Chad and I were supposed to host. And so I had been kind of given that next, okay, here's your opportunity. We're going to give you your own hosting show. Terrific. Yay. This is what I've been wanting. This is so exciting. It was really, really awesome time. And, so I said, we're just taking you off air. We're getting everything ready. You guys are going to start the show. It was supposed to be like a 4 to 6 week span. They're like, just enjoy this. I'm like, great, okay. And so they didn't want to continue with me in the wrestling storylines because they wanted to really move me into the hosting, which is, again, where I had wanted to be. And then literally everything was reformatting. We were doing it, and it was we had known that WCW was closing down, of course, well before the last show. So we had been told we were going to do the new show, and it was going to be a very, huge undertaking of changing formats, changing sets. It was going to be a costly adventure, the whole deal. And when they knew that the company was going to be sold, the show, they just said, "Show staying as is. We're so sorry. We don't have this job to give you." And so I just really didn't have a job anymore because all of a sudden I've been kind of written out of my storyline. And the Nitro Girls were pretty much off camera at that point, and there was a new director. She was a pretty traditional like dance team captain, and she had her new group, and she had a very specific thing. She was very clear about not wanting any of the old girls. She single-handedly kind of pushed us all out of the dancing, and so I couldn't really go back. It was kind of like, well, this show got canceled, and we don't have anywhere to put it. I was like, oh, that stinks. Okay, it was great, wonderful. And then a couple of months later, everybody was out of job. So I was just out of the job a few months earlier than everybody else.
Okay, now you can actually be seen monthly now on the WWE Classics on Demand service on the history of the Monday Night Wars feature that they have. Now, how do you feel about a new generation of fans becoming familiar with your work?
I think it's really fantastic. I think what is so sad is that we've never been contacted. And I guess the bad news is you sign your life away when you sign those contracts, so we have no rights to our footage being used. But we have no idea that it was even going on. The only way I even knew that was happening was because Diamond Dallas Page is doing some of the hosting elements with it. And he's put some posts out, and we've talked a little bit about it. But I think it's great. I think and it's also at the same time so weird to go, man, I'm in that category that's like, I mean, I did something, what did we do in North Carolina this past summer? The Legends, the big convention of the Legends. I'm like, I'm in the Legends category? What? Like, when did that happen? It's so crazy. But it's cool. I mean, it's really good because it is a very, like I said, when I left wrestling, it's not that I closed the door and said, I'm done with wrestling. It's just your life goes on and you continue to grow. And I had been a chiropractor the whole time I was there and just went, and I always had a practice, and it was a part-time practice, but then I just went into full-time practice. And of course, the Nitro Girls, we had a singing group. And so when I wasn't in my office, we were in the studio. And so life was just carrying forward and we were going in other directions. And, so it's so weird that I will literally have people at times say, so what about your wrestling past? Like, is it, like, do you still keep up with it? Is it a part of who you are? I'm like, well, it's always a part of who I am. And I really have these moments of just looking back and going, oh my God, I did all that. Like, I have to just go watch videos from time to time to remind myself because you get so far removed, not because you want to be, but just like I said, because life goes on, and you continue. Hi, my guys. All right. I've got a blue-tongued little boy of mine just coming to see me. Oh, I'm sorry, guys. So I've got a few minutes. I'm gonna let them get in the car. So keep talking. What other questions you got for me?
Yeah, actually, my next question was going to be about your son there. Now, have you started showing him your time in wrestling yet?
He's seen my, like, some of the dance clips. There is on YouTube, there is a guy who has the best Nitro Girl tribute page. He's Sam Hago, I think is what his little online thing is. It's like SAMHGO, but if you just look up anything on YouTube, Nitro Girl Spice or Nitro Girl tributes, you'll find some of his stuff, and it's so well done. He's got some of the best footage of us, and I've shown my son that. You know, he's seen that a little bit, and that's pretty much it. You know, he knows that I dance, and he hasn't really seen all the other wrestling things because he's 3.5. He's just kind of like, Mom, look, if it's not Spider-Man, really, or Lightning McQueen or Bolt, I just don't have time for it.
Well,
so, you know.
Yeah, the one thing you know about little boys is eventually they'll get that time where they're into wrestling. So.
Yeah. Well,
you'll be a hero
amazing.
then.
Oh, he just doesn't. I haven't seen it on. He hasn't seen it on television, but he innately is a wrestler. I mean, no doubt. He drops the big elbow, and he's amazing. The things he does, it's crazy. He'll be like, "Mommy, let's wrestle." He will take me down. The other night we were out wrestling in the park, and one of my neighbors drives by and goes, "That looks like child abuse over there." I'm like, "Try mommy abuse." I'm like, my son has me in a choker hold here, for crying out loud.
Right. When he gets older, you'll be a hero. That remind me of the time when my father told me and showed me pictures when he used to play basketball with Kareem Abdul-Jabbar.
Oh my gosh, amazing, right? Amazing.
You'll be a hero at that point. Now you spoke earlier about after WCW, you formed the pop group Diversity 5. And you were in that group with Fire, Storm, who we know better as Charmel, who's Booker T's wife, Shay, and Tigress. Can you talk a little bit about that group and some of your accomplishments with them for the fans who might not be that familiar with it?
Oh, I can. I just have to tell you guys, you're experiencing this with me firsthand. My son just got his first skateboard. That's awesome, buddy. I mean, at the bottom. That is, it does have a claw at the bottom. It's awesome. Oh my gosh, that's a big moment. You see, one thing, and I'll answer your question in 1 second, Andrew. My son, on Disney, there's a show called Kick Buttowski, and it is awesome. And it's about the suburban daredevil. And my son thinks that he is Kick Buttowski. So when he's not wrestling, he's daredeviling it up, and now he just officially got his first skateboard.
So you can consider this to be his first interview right here.
Right, exactly. Exactly. Let it go down. Oh, man. But the question about being with Diversity 5, the girls, like I said earlier, we really and truly were and continue to be to this day a family. And so it was amazing because, we actually had producers come to us. They were hoping at that time, Spice Girls were kind of winding down, back, NSYNC and Backstreet Boys, like everybody they were all there. They were up and coming, or not up and coming, it was their time. And so it was all about the boy band and the girl band, and they saw us and they said, "You girls have name-face recognition. You've got this huge following with wrestling, and we want to make you the next Spice Girls." So they'd come to us, and mind you, the only person that really, that had a set of pipes was Charmel. And she had to try that. So we immediately went in, just like going to wrestling school. You got to go into vocal school. And it wasn't about learning to sing because we could all carry a note, but it's about harmonizing as a fivesome and really getting our notes right and being able to sing and to dance, to keep the rhythm. It's a whole skill set that is phenomenal. And again, having gone through it, learned it, I love and have a deep respect for the people, even like a Beyonce that is flawless and amazing and performing. Pink, I watched her concert the other day from last year. She's so phenomenal. These singers who just really get up there and just, blow and dance and do it all, and it sounds amazing. It is such an art form. But it was a blast. It was a blast, and Charmel had gotten the opportunity to go back to WWE, and she felt that it was the right thing. She's like, and her and Booker were together, and it's just what she wanted to do. She wanted to go to be able to be with him, and so then the group took a little shift. We replaced her with Chiquita, who was also a Nitro Girl. She was one of the later Nitro Girls, and the only problem with that is that she didn't live in Atlanta. So she was up in Philadelphia. She'd fly in about every 2 months. We'd have major rehearsals together. She'd fly back out. we'd go do shows, we'd be in front of producers, and it's just a gig like anything. It's time, place, hoping that it's the right thing, and the girl group thing had just kind of passed because it was Brittany, it was Christina, it was Pink. That's when they were all right there, and then it became the guitar girls. Michelle, what was her name? I can't even remember. Michelle, somebody with a guitar. And so then it moved from, right as we were doing all that in pop culture, it moved from Brittany and Christina and Pink to then the guitar girls coming out. And so they wanted the solo female artists. They didn't want a group of 5. So we just missed our window. It wasn't our time. So there you have it.
Yeah, actually, I'm going to backtrack here for a second. Another Nitro girl was Whisper, whose real name is Rebecca Hickenbottom, Shawn Michaels' wife, and they were introduced by Kevin Nash. What are your memories of Rebecca, and did Shawn Michaels spend a lot of time around you guys on the road and things like that at that point?
No, he didn't. Rebecca was one of my very best friends. Amazing individual, beautiful heart, beautiful person in every way, and she had been introduced to him by Kevin, and we all had a mutual friend out in California who actually helped to get Tori into WCW, and so he was a friend of all of them, and he was kind of a connector as well, who was not in the wrestling world, just kind of managed different fitness professionals. And anyway, so it was kind of one of those love at first sight things. It really was a little storybook romance that it just happened. They had an immediate connection. They knew it at the deepest level. Oh, my goodness. Okay, I'm almost done, Boogie. Sorry. So, they fell in love. They had these amazing visits and phone conversations and hours on a phone at night. And within 6 weeks, she was packing up her bags and moving to Texas. And she left. She left the world of wrestling. She left it all because she knew that this was her man and she was in love and they were going to go start a life together. And it happened just that fast. I never even personally met Shawn. And again, Rebecca and I had been inseparable for probably a year and a half. And so once she left, she left.
Oh, wow.
Gone. Yeah.
Now you also did extensive choreographing for several production companies, dance groups, and even appeared in a couple of music videos for artists like R. Kelly. Can you talk a little bit about those experiences?
Oh, again, it's just part of who I am, and I think that when you're in entertainment, it's kind of like you're used to it. It's all just like another set, and it's fun and it's great. Again, a lot of hurry up and wait. You do a lot for those few seconds that you might get seen on camera, and a lot of times you shoot stuff that never gets on camera, and so it's just fun. It's just I think that the most fun I had was for about 3 years I did work for Coyote Ugly, and I was one of their choreographers, and I went around and I helped them open bars and trained all their girls and did some additional dances for them, and that was a ton of fun, and it was so funny. I was out in Seattle, and I'm running an audition, and in comes former Nitro Girl Star. I'm like, Jen? She goes, Melissa? I'm like, you got the job. Come on, what are you doing? She was in nursing school at the time. It was so funny. I was like, oh, my gosh. It was just crazy. You never know where you're going to reconnect with people in the dance world. So it was all fun. It was great. It really was a great, many wonderful experiences, and I just love dancing. You guys are making me feel like I need to get into a dance class as soon as I get off this call.
Well, now's the point where we're going to talk about what you're doing these days. You also hold several accredited training and certifications in your current life. Can you talk a little about what you hold, and was that something that you're doing and working on during your time with WCW? Was that something that you worked on kind of after the fact?
No, I was a chiropractor before I was a doctor of chiropractic medicine. I graduated actually in 97, December of 97. We started in June, the end of June of 97. So I had been, and lucky for me, I was in my last, big semester, and so most of it was just studying for all your national boards and stuff, and all my big coursework had been behind me. Thank goodness, and that was before we had to start traveling more than just one day a week. So it all kind of worked out perfectly. And so, no, I mean, I started my career in wellness, health, and fitness straight out of, gosh, even in college. But as soon as I had moved down to Atlanta, I got into fitness really big. I was a personal trainer and fitness instructor, and, of course, went to chiropractic. My whole time during chiropractic school, I was still dancing and choreographing and running fitness programs. I actually ran the fitness program for the university and, managed all the different instructors and helped to run their gym. I think the facility was like a 30,000 square foot facility. So I have always been into health and fitness. And then after WCW and after finally saying, you know what, I just don't want to go continue to pretend to be somebody I'm not. Like my path, as fun as it's all been, my path, my passion, my purpose is really about helping people to tap into their true authentic self, physically, mentally, emotionally, spiritually. And I knew early on that it wasn't even about staying in an office 9 to 5 every day for me. I have a very strong message and very strong vision. And I guess it was probably about 9 years ago, began my consulting company called Flow Unlimited. It's a health and well living company. And that's kind of the big umbrella. And underneath that are multiple subsidiaries, and one of which is called Flow for Golf. And Flow for Golf is a mind-body integration training program for golfers that does physical coaching, mental coaching, and soulful coaching, if you will, to help golfers really tap into kind of their flow state, their peak performance state, understanding what that is and what to do with that and how to get better results on the golf course and in life. And that's products. I've got DVDs. I've got fitness video workouts. I've got meditation CDs, hypnosis CDs. I'm a master coach practitioner. So, my whole thing is about evolving humanity, evolving the human spirit, and how do we listen to what is in our heart? How do we do what we're all here to do? Because we each have our own path and purpose, and being okay with that, because, I'll tell you, when I was in wrestling and we were the number one show, I had so many people coming at me going, you've got the it factor, you've got the it, you can be this, you can be that, you should do this, you should do that, made my head spin. And I was like, okay, I should. Everybody's telling me I should do this. And I got an agent. I was going to auditions all the time. I'm like, okay, I'll be an actress. And I'm like, and finally one day I'm like, no, actress. That's not who I am. This doesn't resonate with me. It's just not, and not to say that it's bad for other people to do it. It just wasn't what I knew to be my path. And, so kind of my journey was getting it when the light bulb going, man, it's so easy to buy what everybody else is selling you about yourself, but only each of us can really choose who we are and listen to it and honor it, and then it's up to us to do something about it. And if we don't, then we've only got ourselves to be pissed off at. You know what I mean? So there it is. So Flow for Golf is the big program that's out there right now. I do a ton of coaching. I'm a master coach practitioner. I just help people. I help people that transform. I'm writing 3 books right now. So they'll be out, hopefully the first one will be out by late spring at this point. And, you can go to my website. I've got a couple of them. They all merge into one. You can go to flowforgolf.org, FLOWFORGOLF.org, flowunlimited.com, Melissa Grill Peterson with an EN.com. All of those websites go to the same place. You can find me on Facebook. You can find Flow for Golf on Facebook. You can find me on LinkedIn. I'm pretty out there and pretty accessible because my message is, it's what it's all about for me. So I want to make sure I'm reaching my people, getting the word out, and finding the different ways to help inspire people.
You're talking about your website, and I was on there earlier, and I got to tell you, I'm hooked on this idea of transformational energetic healing. Can you describe that concept for our listeners?
Well, that's actually going to become a certification paradigm for healthcare and wellness practitioners. But yes, transformational energetic healing, really and truly, I do run workshops with that. And the truth is that we can all heal ourselves. Ooh, mind-blowing, but it's true. It's scientifically validated. We've just been brought up in a paradigm to think that it's medicine that heals us, it's a doctor that heals us, it's something outside of us that's going to fix us or correct us. And the truth of the matter is that we all have self-healing abilities. The body is designed, it's a self-healing organism, but we ourselves, mentally, emotionally, and spiritually, can heal ourselves. And so The workshop, the paradigm helps to take the participant through different levels of self to access some of those things. I mean, I've worked with people that, for example, cancer patients, everything from major diseases to just, mental thought patterns that keep happening, or, hey, I'm always in a bad relationship. When we think about healing, our lives can get stuck in a lot of different ways. If we don't deal with that stuck energy, so to speak, it can absolutely manifest into real symptoms, into real disease states. So first of all, we have to start identifying what's going on. We don't always have to go back through all this terrifying stuff if somebody had really bad things happen in the past. It's not about past life regressions. It's just about getting the message. Because anything in life, any pattern, any symptom, any place that you keep cycling back to, anything that keeps barking at you. So if it's a low back, oh my God, I got chronic low back pain. It just won't go away. It doesn't matter what I do. It's always there. It's your body's talking to you. If it's a pattern, if you keep attracting the wrong kind of relationship in your life, you're like, God, I always end up in the same scenario with this type of person. Why didn't I see this coming? Patterns, be they physical, be they mental, there's a message within it. When you are able to understand the message, you can free the pain, you can free the symptom, and you can just absorb the message into the whole of you and evolve forward. So transformational energetic healing is really helping the people that come to those workshops understand how you can get the messages within yourself to create self-healing, and then how you support ongoing self-healing and self-evolution so that you can really physically, mentally, emotionally, and spiritually, like I said, be your best self. So that's kind of a quick overview. It's a lot, but that's the simplified version.
Now, also on your website, there's a, it looks like you do like a podcast on there as well. Is that something you do regularly, or how can people get a hold of that?
Yeah, no, thank you for asking. If you go to In the Studio on the website, all my little regular podcast updates are in there. And right now, we're kind of blending because I am I'm putting out a new concept, which is on there. All my stuff is obviously flow for golf, flow for health, flow for wellness, flow for life, flow productions, flow, in the flow. That's one of my main concepts because it's all about it, going with it versus fighting it. And so the flow factor is what's in the studio. And so we've got different training elements for the mind, for the body, for the soul. Right now, kind of what's predominating the podcast lineup is all the golf elements, because it's golf season is literally, no pun intended, in full swing and getting ready to be, everybody. We're having beautiful days down here in the South. I know that the Midwest and Northeast is still pretty cold, but down here it's amazing. So people are grabbing their clubs and out on the course. And so that's what's really predominating. And then as we kind of get things underway with golf, and we're going to have some of the other ones, I don't have a weekly podcast yet because I want to make sure I'm not making everybody's head spin, because I've got even though it's a similar message, 1 week it's golf, and then the next week it's, energetic healing. So we're just deciding what message, if I want to do singular podcasts for each niche, or if I'm going to do kind of a blanketed, just the Flow Factor Studio, which I think is what we're going to do. So by March, we should have regular podcasts coming out.
Yeah, let us know when you have that, and we'll make sure to let everyone know.
Great, thanks, guys.
You were talking about the weather, and it was the same here in Virginia. It was 75 degrees. If I wasn't getting over the flu, I would have been right out there on the course myself. Are you a regular golfer?
I am a sporadic golfer, which is the irony of it all. And I tell everybody, I'm not your golf pro. What my program does is really it helps you physically and mentally to be able to tap into your own skill set to make the most out of what your pro is telling you. So for me, it's all about just the present moment enjoyment of it, because I am not the world's greatest golfer, nor is it my priority. If it were my priority, then I'd really apply my program to take it to a peak performance level. I'm just like, I get out there when I can, and I enjoy it, and it's fun, and it's beautiful, and I love just being in nature and just having that experience. We always have a good time.
Yeah, my brother's an avid golfer. I'll make sure to send, let him know of your stuff. Now we talked
and
about...
find us on Facebook. Tell them to find us on Facebook and friend us or like us or whatever it is. Fan us, all of the above.
Sure will. Now, we talked about that. We spoke about your family. What else do you do when you on the rare occasion where you have spare time these days? Because it sounds like you're pretty full. In addition to that, you do all the coaching, motivational speaking, all that kind of stuff. What do you do in your spare time?
I play with my son and love my husband and, work out and go for walks and play with my dog. I have just the most adorable little pit bull mix, and she is the craziest athlete you've ever seen. So we take her out to the park, and she literally does somersaults and jumps up in the air. She's crazy. It's amazing. So it's the simple things. I mean, I just really love just the beauty of the moments that life gives us, and I just soak in as many of the belly laughs as I can get from my son and as many kisses and handholds from my husband, and I meditate. I really do. It helps me get centered. Just taking even 15 minutes just to do some good deep breathing, and that's just kind of my time so that I can stay good for everybody. I'm a big proponent. We've got to take care of ourselves, otherwise we won't be good for anybody else in our world. So I definitely practice what I preach. I coach my own self a lot, and like I said, definitely just love being active, moving. I'm not one that's in front of the television much. I feel like, although there's a lot of great programming, it's so easy to get sucked in, and then you're like, where'd all my time go? Where'd my life go? So I'm not much of a television girl, just out there living it, being it, doing it.
Now, from your days in wrestling, do you have a rib or a road story that happened that you'd like to share with our listeners?
I think the real moment was like when you guys asked me earlier about the big moment with Tigress and Stacy Killer. I mean, that is a first. I've never admitted that. I've been asked about that a couple of times because, you try to keep true to I don't want to say the facade because it's not a facade. There's a lot of reality in what you're seeing on camera, but that was just one of those moments. There was just nothing. There's nothing bad. They were my family. When we were off camera, we'd go back to the hotel. We all went out a lot. It was just any time we'd have a pay-per-view weekend, it was a long weekend, we'd definitely go out and find all the fun clubs and go dancing and just literally dance all night because that's just me dancing. That was just kind of it. We danced, we hung out, we wrestled, and you went home and you regrouped, you did your laundry, you paid your bills, you said hi and love to the people in your life, and you got back on the road and went and did it again next week. But I can't say there was any big drama or any big stories of, just for me, from my standpoint, just a lot of wonderful, truly genuine friendships and connections, and it was just a fun time.
Yeah, so one of the, some breaking news right here today, the story about Tigress.
The truth of it all, she wasn't really knocked out. She was praying to God you wouldn't screw it up.
Now, the last question, or one of the last questions I have is you were talking about Paige earlier, Diamond Dallas Page, and how he told you that you guys were on the WWE Classics on Demand. He's also hosting a Best of WCW Nitro DVD that's coming out later this year. Do you have any idea if you guys are going to be featured on that at all?
I have no idea. He said that what he got to see was some great looking footage, and he just kind of sent out a mass, Facebook message to a bunch of us within kind of a little WCW little group there that we all kind of keep in touch. So he said just the preliminary footage looks great. Looks like it's going to be an awesome, DVD, so that's the most I know right now about that.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to that. Having grown up in Virginia, I was always kind of more into WCW. So, I'm much looking forward to that. And do you have any final words for your fans out there?
Oh, man. Gosh, truly, I know this sounds so hokey, but thank you. Thank you for, just loving us. And still, 10 years later, I'm of interest, and you're caring to hear what's going on, to say, hey, what's Spice up to these days? Thank you for everything. Thanks for the love. Thanks for the support. I'm excited to know that, new fans are going to get to see the work that we did from so long ago. And, I keep loving wrestling because wrestling fans are phenomenal. They're a blessing. They're really great. Just some of the best, truly the best fans out there. One of my best friends is Mark Brooks, who's an artist for Marvel Comics, and we talk all the time how comic fans and wrestling fans are one and the same because they are just tried and true through and through,
and just, so supportive and just follow and want to know, and they just genuinely care about the art. So it's a blessing. Wonderful. Thank you.
All right. Well, thank you so much for joining us today, Melissa.
Thank you so much, guys. And I see, buddy. It's time. Do you want to say bye to everybody? Tell us, say bye. Bye, 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 bye.
Bye.
Peace out. Peace out. My dude.
All right.
There you have it. Those are the final words.